Hi, this is Jim Gibson with CableSupply.com, and today I am out in Georgetown, Texas. We're going to look at this building and look at the people who are doing the work. Hi, this is Jim Gibson with CableSupply.com. Thank you for joining me today. And today I have the good fortune of meeting Michael and Connor today here in Georgetown, Texas. I'm often in Texas, about 1 week, 2 weeks a month, and we're going to look at some of the install. Michael is the owner, and Michael, explain the name of the company you have.
So the company, it's Go Call with a C, and then IT, of course. Mm-hmm. And so when I was creating the name of the company, I had VoIP also in mind. Mm-hmm. And so with the K, there's a lot of VoIP companies that use K for call as opposed to a C. And so I put the two together, and that's how I came up with it.
How long have you been in business?
About 3 years now.
Oh, fantastic. What made you want to be in business?
So I've worked for other MSPs, mm-hmm. and one thing I found with MSPs is that sometimes they will charge a lot of money but not provide good quality service or customer service on a relationship level with their clients. So the clients are getting frustrated because they're putting in a ticket. It's taking a few days for the tickets to be answered. And so I didn't want any more of that. I wanted to start my own company and give better quality response to my clients. Therefore, I went out on my own and started my own company. And on the side of that MSP part, we also have the cabling company. And so the cabling, that just kind of comes with the job. A lot of clients open new locations. A new client is starting up and he's refurbishing a new building and they need cabling and they want to go to who it is they're already paying to do their cabling for them instead of having to bring in a third party company that's going to charge an outrageous price for their cabling.
Yeah, and it's really unusual to be in an MSP and also do cabling. It's really unusual, but it's a great combination having the two together at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. We have clients that just want cabling and then end up becoming our clients after that because they don't want to have to go find another IT company. When they've already talked to us about how to build their network.
So what is the area do you cover? So people watching this, if they're watching it from your area, they know that they can get a hold of you.
So our main office is in Round Rock, Texas. Mm-hmm. And then we do all the surrounding areas. We do Austin. We do starting with Taylor, where the new Samsung building is going to be built. Starting from Taylor, coming all the way across the north, out to Florence and Jarrell, Texas, all the way to where we are now, Liberty Hill, Cedar Park area, and then go all the way down to Austin, the Lakeway area. We don't go all the way to Kyle or Buda, which is South Austin, but it doesn't mean we won't. But currently, we haven't had any projects that far out.
When I had my company, sometimes we would, if it was a good opportunity, it was a big job, we would actually take it. And I think one of my early big jobs was doing cabling in Colorado, and we're a Southern California company. Mm-hmm. So we would fly out there and couple us together and fly out there, and we cabled the data center for Brinks Home Security and Burlington Air Express, and it was south of Denver. So for about 3 months we went out there and cabled, but like you said, further, you got to make sure it's part of the profit margin.
Correct. You
got to take care of that. So,
correct. Correct. And because we're a subscription-based MSP. We're not a pay by the minute MSP like a law office or something. So when a client wants to open a new location, they need cabling done. Our prices are based cheaper for them by the drop because they're already our client, and they get a more tailored, more custom experience for that, as opposed to someone just finding us and saying, "Hey, we need this done."
I know you didn't mean this to be an advertisement. What's your phone number, really quick?
512-645-2325, and that's Round Rock, Texas.
Fantastic. And so you're out here in Georgetown, which is not too far from Round Rock. I was in Leander this morning. I've been looking for houses to buy. And it's crazy right now.
Yes.
But I've been looking for the last 6 months, haven't found one. I own a house there now, and I just like to, I like real estate, stuff like that, so that works well.
Yeah.
Well, now, Connor, how did you get involved in the IT industry?
Oh, I took some classes in college and I was like, IT seems good enough, so I just bought some books and started studying and applied to a bunch of jobs, and finally Michael called me back and gave me an interview, and I actually took his job over another job that was going to pay a little better because I wanted to work in a more broad-ranged environment instead of a narrow, like very small field of expertise.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've really enjoyed this job. I've learned way more than I would have in any other job. And I've really grown skills that I kind of had a baseline of understanding from books in school. And I've really actually become very comfortable with taking tickets, doing cabling projects. Just everything that we do is I'm much more comfortable now, and it's been a very rewarding experience.
You know, one of the things that I used to do before I sold my business is I went to the local community college and I'd find the guys who needed part-time jobs and flexibility, and I would hire them, and pay them a decent wage, but hire them and get them to, they were learning the hands-on, plus they were building their resume. So going to local community college on those type of things works well.
Yeah. We also cut sheetrock, cut and float sheetrock and all that stuff too. It comes with cabling.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of guys they don't want to. They only want to cut a square hole to run their poles up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's much easier just to cut the sheetrock all out, and cut the sheetrock up there, and then run your poles through and pull your cabling and put it back.
Well, especially this building, I got an idea that this is it's not a normal commercial building. That we're probably wood construction.
It's all wood construction.
So you kind of have to put in access on the wall, where you cut a hole in the wall and you go 3 feet and you go up to the top, and then you got to get in the top. And this is a sealed ceiling, so this makes it difficult. So do you charge more for buildings that are difficult like this?
Not really. It just comes part of the job. We scope out the work at first, and we make a determination on how much labor it's going to cost. Again, remember, this is a subscribed client, so they get a better deal than a non-subscribed. They usually, the framers or the sheetrock guys will come back and put sheetrock back. But if we had to do it, we would charge whatever that cost would be.
Did you
hire someone to do it?
Did you see my video on pumpkin cuts?
I don't remember.
Well, as you know, I'm a little bit older than you are.
Yeah.
And when I first started cabling, one of my jobs was on the coast, was this multi-million-dollar install, and they built the whole house right there on the beach. I mean, it was huge. It was probably 4,000 or 5,000 square feet, and then they realized they didn't put in telephone outlets, so they called us in and we had to put in the but one of the things I remember going home at the time, and I was cutting a hole in a pumpkin, and I decided, hey, that doesn't go all the way through, because when you cut a hole and then you got to back it with a piece of wood, to put the drywall there and everything else, I'm sure you've done that.
Yep.
So what I did is I cut it on an angle, and then it slides right back in the hole.
Yeah.
And and then I mud it on the edges so it stays.
Right.
And worked really well for me. So I cut a ton of holes in that building, and most of them were easily repaired because of I put it
I have
right
some
back.
cutouts around the corner if you'd like to see those.
Sure, let's do it.
Yesterday. Okay.
Let's do it. And then we're going to talk about your cabling and all.
Yeah. So let me show you right here. So
Okay.
we had Spectrum had to come in and run this cable, and they had no way really into the building from the outside. So let me show you over here.
Okay.
And so over here in the wall in the kitchen. So over here in the kitchen, down behind here, is the conduit that comes from outside. And so, let me see if I can get you this picture to show up from yesterday. So are you able to see this picture? Let me see. Can you see that?
Yep.
So that's what it looks like without that on there. So we cut sheetrock to get to stuff like that. And then up top, we'll cut it up there.
Yeah, it's kind of what you have to do.
Yeah, to get to the top plate there.
This is sort of like a home when you're cabling a home, and it makes it really difficult.
And a lot of people are afraid to cut the walls. And if you're gonna do cabling, you can't be afraid. You just gotta cut. You know, because it's so much easier just to put the sheetrock back than to spend more time stressing yourself out trying to figure out how you're gonna cable.
Yeah, and it's almost impossible if you have fire blocks in there.
Correct.
Yeah, 2x4 fire blocks. How do you do it? Now I've done it to where I've, when we this is not my specialty back then, but we would hang TVs on the wall, and we had to get down to the outlet. So you stick your drill all the way down through that hole, and then you just drill a hole in, and hopefully you get through. But that's a big opening in the back of a TV. You can and cover it up part of it,
So
nicely.
do you want to see our cabling work?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about your cabling work.
Yeah. You'll have to come up here. Can you pull that back? It's kind of heavy.
Okay. So the blue work is yours.
Yeah, the red and white work is the cabling the camera company. And,
Okay.
So that's theirs. But so what we did is we J-hooked all the way down, all the way down on these sides. So we ran to each of the offices. It comes out and runs across all these J-hooks. This is actually, more of this is actually Connor's work than mine. He's the one that pulled a lot of this.
Well, it's nice and neat.
Yeah, and then back behind you here, you can't see too well, but right here, this all goes to the server room. And the server room's back there, which is where we just was. So all this, goes down and follows its way all down there. Not too bad. But everything's on J-hooks. Got to be on J-hooks. A lot of times you'll go into attics and you'll see cables just running across the ground. If you go into commercial buildings, you can't have cabling running on the grid because that's against the regulation or law ordinance.
Is that the code?
The code. And the reason why is if there's a fire and the cameramen come and they start axing the ceiling, they don't want to get caught up in all that cable. So you have to use J-hooks. You have to keep all the cabling off the grid for that.
Yeah, well, it's nice. You got J-hooks at nice distances. You can actually move around up here and things like that.
Right.
Yeah, and it's different in different states as far as the code. So
yeah, we see things like this. Like this is their old cabling from whoever owned it before, and so what they're doing is they're notching out the joist there.
Yeah,
and that's a no-no. Whoever did this back in the 80s or in the 90s, you weaken it, and then you can't get to it, and that we find that a lot too in buildings. If they had just taken the extra step and used a J-hook, it would have been a lot easier for them.
Yeah. Did you guys do that ducking? That
No.
conduit, the plastic?
No, that was all there. All the reffing was in the walls already.
So
we followed it.
You just had to go right down to where the outlet is. That's
Right.
pretty good. Did you use the old gray cable as a?
No, we pulled all that out and ran new.
No, I meant did you use that as your pull string?
No, we used pull string.
Oh,
Our own pull string.
okay. So as you're pulling it out, though, did you attach it to your pull string?
We do.
Oh,
So down
okay.
below, what we do is we'll run. We run that. I don't even really know what you call it, but that reel that's the long pole. And so we'll run it up, attach the string to it, pull it down,
Pull it down.
attach the cable into the string, pull it right back up through. So it comes out, you know, right there,
Mm-hmm.
comes up, hits the J hook, and on back. You know.
Yeah, one of the things I use is a nylon fish tape that's real flexible and all.
Right.
It's very inexpensive, but it goes right up conduit, and it's better than like I have a fiberglass that I use for long distances, but the nylon really worked really well
Right.
for me.
So we do things like we can get between. See, like back there, you know, you'll see.
Ooh, that's difficult.
If you see how close the roof is to the ceiling back there.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times what we'll do is, and on this side, it goes way back there. If you turn around and look back there, you see how far back that goes?
Uh-huh.
I mean, you can't even crawl back there. It's so skinny. So in order to get cabling way back there, what we'll do is we will attach a loop to the end of a pole, drill a hole, attach a loop to the end of the pole with the pull string still attached, run it up, and then with our oscillating pole long arms, we grab that loop and we pull the string all the way back, you know, and then they'll attach the cable and we'll start pulling cables.
Now, you talking about a gopher pole?
I don't know if that's the name of it, but it's the one that goes about 14 feet.
Yeah,
it's
it has a little notch in it, so as you pull it out, it snaps. And then
Well,
you go further.
when you pull it out, we twist it and it locks.
Oh, okay.
We pull it some more, twist and lock, pull it some more, twist and lock. So it goes about 14 feet.
Yeah.
You know, but it's all oscillating pole, I think it's called.
Yeah, I worked on this one place that had a ceiling that went up like 30 feet. But when you're in the attic, I could see the other side, but I couldn't get it even with a gopher pole because it was so large, that entryway to that nice building.
Yeah.
So we just had an old padlock, and we attached it to a pull string and just threw it.
Oh,
across.
yeah.
But we had a lot of room in that attic to do
Throw
that.
it, right.
So it went 30, 40 foot across.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So, all right.
You got to watch when you're using padlocks.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes when you throw it, if someone is in that area and then it wraps around and then it comes around and hits someone.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
Let me get started here. Go ahead.
So all the cabling from up there comes down right there,
Uh-huh.
and then comes across, comes up here to all the patch panels.
Uh-huh.
And then the way that we do it is we always leave a space for cameras.
Uh-huh.
So this server room, we have cameras in every server room. So we leave this space for the camera company for their DVR. Then we have our patch panel. And then we leave a space for a switch, another patch panel, another space for a switch, and the patch panel, and then so on and so forth. And typically, we use smaller half-foot cables.
Uh-huh.
But right now we were having a hard time getting some, so we had to use 1-foots right now.
Have you seen those flat cables or the thin cables, super thin cables that work really well?
We have these cables. Are you talking about these flat ones?
No, it's a data cable, but it's very, very thin.
Very skinny. I've seen those.
Skinny.
They're costly.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know if the client wants to pay for that.
That's
You know,
true.
when this works for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so we daisy chain them through the SFPs
Mm-hmm.
and go from there. You know,
Are these managed switches, these Cisco's?
they're all managed.
All managed. What have you programmed into them?
So currently, right now, they're not programmed at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is all just one network.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. The camera company has their own DVR and their own network,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're going to plug directly into their own DVR.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll be a different subnet than the rest of the company.
So
Here
physically, it's going to be totally different.
for them, yes. But as far as here, they run all their phones and their network, all their network connections, all on the same subnet. We don't branch out their phones until it becomes a problem.
Mm-hmm.
If it becomes a problem, then we'll go ahead and create a VLAN for them.
Mm-hmm.
Put their phones on VLAN. But all their phone systems in the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So we do phone systems also, and so we put their phone system out on a server out there at AWS, and then all their desk phones connect directly to that.
Yeah, I'm working right now on AWS, and so it's a good system. It's the biggest cloud provider. A lot of people are scared of the cloud. They don't understand that actually it is safer than some of the other things.
So,
Okay, well, so apparently this is not your cabling.
no,
This is the camera people.
Correct.
And as you see, it's RJ45s that have been crimped. And, a lot of people say, well, that works fine. That's absolutely great, and it's no problem at all. But it does have a problem with it. First of all, it's not the strongest connection when you use it this way. Even though you have to have the RJ45s that work with solid cable, in this case, it is not the best. If I can get that in focus, it is not the best way to do it. It's just junky.
Correct.
And I remember we used to do that when I was younger. In my business, first started it, we would do that for the telephones, the RJ11. So we'd crimp them down, everything else. Then after about 3 years, we started having problems, especially on moist, humid days or rainy days.
Yep.
And I'd have to cut them off and put on new things. Finally, it dawned on me that the best way to terminate cable is not crimping an RJ45 like that, but is actually using a patch panel like you got up here. This is really the way to do it, and this is nice too when you name the patch panels A, B, and C, and then do the jacks where C3 would be right here. It makes it easy to manage things like that. This is great. So the Spectrum is not you.
No. So I right now we're still in the midst of the build out. So I just told them just stick it on the wall for now. I'll move it around as on move-in day when we come in and bring all their servers in and whatnot. Because this whole rack's gonna be full of stuff. So when we bring all their equipment in,
what is going on the rack?
they're moving. This client's moving from their old location to a new location. So they've got servers, they got battery backups, they've got an actual monitor, their own router. This is just a temporary router, their own router and whatnot. And so, and anything new, like the DVR for the camera company, their switch. So I'll end up moving stuff around when that day comes. So that's why this looks kind of junky. But typically that's not how we do things. It's just for now.
Yeah, I worked for Burlington Air Express, and they used to fly out to all their installs, and they were putting we had a big install, and we had a backboard like that. It wasn't, maybe it was twice the size of that, but the phone company came out and right in the center. Yeah. They stuck their stuff. Yep. And I had to call them back and say, you got to move it because we're going to put a phone system on the wall, the old phone system, analog, digital phone system, not a voice over IP. And it needed, the whole, from top to bottom, it was going to have to be cabinets. And, so eventually we moved it. But sometimes the phone company doesn't understand the placement.
That's my biggest pet peeve is for them to just stick everything right in the center. Whenever we do build outs, I always ask them to pick a corner, start from the corner, use as least space as possible, so that there is more room for the security company and for whatever more comes later on.
Well, neatness counts too.
And neatness too,
because you got to troubleshoot, and you have the customer comes in and they see something like that, even though you didn't do it. They're going to hold you accountable for this thing, and it becomes a mess after a while. Look at it. I mean,
correct. So we don't, again, like all this cabling, just the way it is. That's not us.
Who is that? The red cable and the fire alarm people.
Well, it's for the door badges and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
All the door swipes, the camera, and that's all their work. That's not us. We don't work like that. And we definitely don't. We try not to put zip ties on cabling because it crimps the cable. Now, if you look on mine up here, you'll see some zip ties up there, but we do it across the tape in some places. We try to at least. Try and keep it clean. We don't tighten them too tight, obviously.
Well, this is a clean setup in the back here.
Yes.
So that's nice. Now, you said you were using my cable identifier?
We did. We have them right here, matter of fact.
Did it save time for you?
Oh yeah. This has got to be one of the best products. I've been doing IT for 20 years. And I got to tell you that this. Can you run out that door and see what number that is?
Right there.
In that room. He's gonna give us a port number.
Mm-hmm.
A41. So A41. Here we are. Right here. But you can get to it, right?
Yeah.
It's not
It's
the.
an open port. Yeah.
Okay. So here's A41, and so it's been such a lifesaver. We did 3 patch panels for this, and here he'll light it up, and there you go. So he lit it up.
There it is.
Yep. And right away it told us A41 exactly where he's at.
Why don't you pull it out and put it back in?
Can you pull it out and then put it back in? And there you go.
Yeah, it saves time.
Oh my gosh, it's a lifesaver.
I came up with it when I was doing 800 pulls on a downtown LA
All right. Yes.
skyscraper.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, you imagine that, and then all of a sudden everybody was, well, it's all marked on the cable. Well, yeah, I got 800 cables here. It's going to take us forever to do that. And I said, you know, went home and I thought about it, and I said, why don't we just do LEDs and power them up? So,
and so, you know, the way that we typically do it is, you know, we have tables and chairs, single table, single chair, and when we run cables, we make the cables touch the ground. And then after all the cables are all touching the ground, we cut them all the way across. And then we'll sit on our tables, we'll split them out, comb it, and split them out, and we'll just sit there with 48 port patch panel, the 2 of us, and kind of watch TV and punch them down at the same time until we get to the whole patch panel. On this job, I had 2 of them, he had 1. And then we pull whatever cable back up there and make it look nice. And then we just spent one day, we just came in here and put all the LEDs on and went through them all. And anything, if we found one that was dead or needed to be fixed, you could fix it real easy, that sort of thing. But we hit about 99% of them on the first try, first go around. You know,
and if you're catching mistakes now, like, you know, one of the things that we had a procedure. We just cabled everything, and then we didn't worry about where it was at or anything else. So then what we did is we went back and identified them. So we identify them here, you know, like it would be A15, and they would do a little label machine, and they would put A15 on it. Then we would say, you know, pull the battery supply and push the tester, and then we'd test it.
Yeah.
And what I found out is if we test every single one, there's no go backs.
Yeah.
And never had a go back.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was thousands of things we've done. And we always tell the customer, look, it's under warranty for 15 years.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, so if there's any problems, just call us out and we'll honor it. You know, but don't take the jack apart. Don't open it up and troubleshoot it yourself. Just call us and we'll do it for you.
Right. And I make sure that you pay attention to detail as you're going through. Check your work. Do a few. Go back and check to make sure that they're all in the right. And same with out there on the floor when you're punching down. Just go and take that extra half second and check it to make sure it's all in the right spots.
Yeah.
You'll catch mistakes. So it's better to catch them there or while you're doing it than to go up here and then try and punch down on the backside of the patch panel. You know, to fix the problem. Makes it easier.
Well, believe it or not, there's some companies that test every 5th one, or every 3rd one, or things like that.
Yeah, not us.
Now, I don't know if they do it now, but when I was started and said, no, every single one will be tested.
Has to be tested.
Has to be tested. What tester do you use?
So we use the, is it the Fluke? The
Fluke?
Yellow, right? That's what we use for pass-fail. It's a Scout.
Just it's pass-fail, right?
Right. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
pass-fail.
all you need.
And it tells you your numbers, 1 through 8.
Yeah, that's all you need. Yeah, that's you know, I use something similar. I didn't use Fluke, but I use something similar.
What is it?
I don't know.
Because the roof up there is so the ceiling, the outside roof is so
Right.
close to the ceiling, we had to come down and around this way in order to get it. So we have to cut out all that sheetrock in order to get to it. And so this is what it looked like, you know, how we did it. And so pull it down, and it comes down here, and then it goes around this way. I don't know that I have a video of the rest of it. Oh yeah, so then it just comes down, and We attach, that's him attaching the low voltage plate, you know, and the cables. So one thing we have to be careful of is that, and that's above the server room, by the way. One thing we have to be careful of is that you have to know where power is, and you have to go on the opposite side of the stud where there's power. And then as you're going across, you have to be careful where you're cutting sheetrock, because you don't want to cut the power.
Yeah.
You know, and then so here, more than likely, what's going on here is power is probably up here. So we ran up here, right? And so then we just drop down as they go across. So you're not supposed to run power and data next to each other. So you have to find a way to insulate that. Use just a little bit of some conduit or something, that rubber bendable conduit, something to kind of block that. We didn't do it here because we didn't think it was they were that close, because they're inside there is insulation in the wall. It was just going right there, so we figured that'd be okay.
Well, one of the things I did is just keep it 1 foot separation.
Yeah.
So as you're going through horizontally, I would just, keep 1 foot separate, because you're going to run into power cords. So if you cross them at a 90 degree, but then if they're just in the wall and you got the power running in the wall also, you just, like you said.
Lift it higher.
Yeah, and then try to keep it in the other, if there's two by fours there, one bay has power, then what you need to, as you suggested, and that's true, is you run the data in another area. You also want to be very careful running data along power lines for a long distance.
Correct.
Because there could be issues there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.